So, let's try something new. Instead of a typical Is It Worth review, I wanted to take a shot at something and see if it sticks. So instead, you're getting my first thoughts on a game that I've only recently just played. This will include some of my first reactions and a bit of scripted stuff. I may come back and do a final thoughts type video after I complete the game, if I complete it, but that's undecided. So as you've probably noticed, we're going to cover Koei Tecmo's Attack on Titan 2. Now I'm going to preface it with this. I am not a fan of the anime or manga it's based off of. Now that's not to say I dislike it or anything, it's just not a show I particularly pay much attention to is all. So I'm viewing this as someone who's merely seen parts of the series, not as an avid viewer, and not as someone completely new to the franchise. Also, for the record, I'm playing the PlayStation 4 version. So the first thing to note is, this is one of the finest presentations of an anime game I've ever seen. It's drop-dead gorgeous and superbly represents the source material. The characters mostly look on point, but there are a few oddities. Granted, nothing quite as odd as, say, Vegeta's face in Xenoverse. Okay, wow, this first-person bit is really snazzy. So I'm guessing this is our protagonist. Really great presentation so far. Is this, an FMV or in-game? Whoa! Somebody set us up the bomb! Whoa! Smooth! Oh my goodness! Well, the performance is fantastic. Oh, great! And now it's Kung Fu. So it looks the part for sure. How about the story? Well, actually, this is also wonderfully done. Now, granted, I'm going off memory of what I've seen, but it does seem to have a lot of the little moments included, or at least more than your typical adaptation. While the opening does pin you smack dab in the middle of a scene from later on in the story, it does a good job of giving you an idea of what you're getting into, shortly after it goes back to the beginning of the plot. A major part of this game, much like the Dragon Ball Xenoverse titles, is a customizable protagonist. And as somebody who adores the Xenoverse series, this game completely blows its customization out of the water. The depth here is unbelievable, so much more than I was expecting. Now granted, you do have a limited variety of outfits, but you're still given a surprising amount to work with. It's on par with a good chunk of MMOs. And because I'm a customization whore who loves to create a character, this is what led me to buy the game, after a friend told me of it. The protagonist themselves is then inserted into the plot of the TV series, unlike Xenoverse, where you're an outsider sent to repair history. In this, it's implied that you were always part of the story, that in the anime, it's retelling something where many parts were lost to time. And I kind of love this aspect. As somebody not particularly invested in the franchise, it got me pretty excited to interact with these characters. For someone who is a fan of the franchise, I imagine this is squee-inducing. Your character is also given just enough narrative weight to feel like they belong, but not enough to be the entire focus of the story. You're there, but you're a teammate, not the hero. Oh, was our protagonist there too? Well, this is really interesting. So apparently this covers, like, the first 2 seasons of the anime. Well, I guess there's only been 2 seasons so far, but apparently it's a really faithful recreation, but with a custom protagonist added. This is pretty neat. It also includes a sort of pseudo-social link aspect. Spend time with these characters and they become closer to you. And it's not just for character development or mythology gags. This also bestows new skills for your protagonist. And let's face it, even someone with no real attachment to the franchise wants to hang out with Potato Girl. You can raise affection with the characters in a few different ways. The first is to simply answer in a way they like during conversations. Another way is to give them gifts. But the easiest way I've found is to go on scouting missions with them. These are repeatable side missions, so you never have to worry about not being able to befriend someone, as long as they're still alive. Because, much like the anime, major characters can and will die at specific points in the plot, though I'm told you can actually rewrite history upon beating the game. Now, I won't go into detail with the story since I'm not real far into it, and also because I don't want to spoil it for people who do watch the anime. But apparently the game covers both seasons of the TV show thus far, along with a new plot involving the game's protagonist, and supposedly teases the 3rd season. I don't really know about that. What I do know is, the stuff I'm familiar with is near identical in presentation to the series, following it pretty much beat for beat from a slightly new perspective. If you're a fan of the anime, you're gonna fit right in here. So, how's about that gameplay, you're probably thinking? Well, it's a Koei game for sure, meaning it's kind of simple and repetitive. And that's okay, actually. It's good, dumb fun, and it's pretty clear it knows it. The game does lack some strategic elements that Dynasty Warriors has, which is also kind of a dumb, repetitious series in a good way. But it's just such a blast to fly around enemies with the show's iconic movement gear before striking a weak spot. Most Titans are pretty simple to take down, with the small ones having the typical weak point on the back of their necks, and larger ones also having regenerating limbs you can hack off. The game also has its irregular Titans, but most of them follow the same basic logic. Attack the green weak points to stagger them, and then rip into their necks. There's a fair share of other techniques you can use. A fancy counterattack you can use by dodging just before a Titan hits you in midair, which brings up an easy QTE to hit triangle that does hefty damage. An attack where you can charge at the enemy for extra damage, and the awesome stealth attacks that can devastate targets. That's not to say the Titans themselves don't have ways of getting back at you, of course. You can't take very many hits. People refer to the first game as sort of being like a reverse Dynasty Warriors, and it remains true here. They'll slap you out of the air or even grab you if they see you coming, catch their ire, and they'll seek you out viciously. Wait too long or stand out in the open while attempting a stealth attack, and they'll see you as an easy meal. If they grab you, you'll have to mash triangle to escape. But that QTE bar moves pretty quick, so you don't want to take too long. That brings us to the partner system. And this is pretty well done in my opinion. For one thing, if grabbed, you can command a party member to save you. They come flying to your rescue and cut you free to pull you away from the enemy. This is an utter lifesaver in bad situations. Quite literally. However, there's a lengthy cooldown, so you can't rely on it too much. On top of that, your party members have their own skills they can call on. It varies from character to character, though. They mostly fall under specific types. Characters like Christo or Armin will heal you. Annie and Mikasa will strike the target. Emir will throw flash grenades. And someone like Levi or Erwin will initiate a team effort that deals tons of damage or gives the party a buff. Generally, the more elaborate the skill, the longer the cooldown. Surprisingly, the healing ones seem to be some of the fastest, but your teammates actually have to get close to heal you. It all melts together quite well, and it can definitely give you the warm fuzzies when an ugly grabs you and tries to munch on your noggin, only to get his arm sliced off by your partner who saves you superhero style. Surprisingly, the movement is simple. It reminds me of the web slinging from some of the better Spider-Man games, right down to not being able to anchor to something if there's nothing there. If there's nothing around, you can typically call a horse with Circle, who's a bit faster and can dash. In the air, you also have a double jump and an air dash, but these use up a bit of gas, as does the sneak attack. You have limited supplies when it comes to gas, as well as your blades, but you can restock at bases you come across or build while out on the field. This system is pretty simple but effective. You can also make turrets that shoot at the Titans, manual turrets, and mining facilities for bonus resources after the battle. I appreciate the limited resources simply because it does require you to occasionally look before you leap. You'll feel pretty dumb if you jump in to kill a Titan, only for your gas tanks to go dry and your dual blade breaks on them. There's also a simple crafting system. It's okay, I guess. Nothing spectacular, and early on you really don't have a lot to work with. I suppose it gets the job done, but it's no Dragon Age Inquisition in that regard. On top of that, there's also a training option to raise your stats slightly. This can be used to also raise friendship with someone. Downside is, you'll lose stats if the training fails. As for the DLC, most of it seems to just be costumes, though there are extra episodes you can purchase, which are strangely the less expensive stuff. Go figure. Somehow, I did get the pre-order DLC, which I don't believe is available otherwise, despite getting this game quite some time after its release. But hey, I'm not gonna complain about that. It's just a few casual costumes for the main cast. If there's one major gripe I have with the game, it's the frame rate. While it's usually fine, you can definitely notice when it drops from its buttery smooth 60 frames per second. And while it's not too bad most of the time, there are moments where there's a ton of chaos on screen and the game slows to a crawl. Hopefully they'll patch that at some point, but I'll admit I'm not holding my breath. It's a shame to see, especially in what has otherwise been enjoyable. I still have a lot of game to cover, and I don't imagine it'll be much different. But you know what? I'm perfectly content with the game. It was more than I expected by a wide margin, and while it's no AAA title, it's still a lot of fun. Not to say all AAA titles are good, of course. If you're a fan of the series, there's little doubt that you'll have a blast with it. If you're not a fan, you may want to hold off for a price drop, as $60 is a bit steep for a game like this. But hey, if this looks fun, and you're a customization whore like me, you'll probably enjoy yourself. I definitely recommend this title if you just want some simple dumb fun, and a damn good presentation. As long as you don't mind the frame rate issues at certain points. Potato Girl is totally best girl. Thank you guys so much for watching. I guess we'll find out in the future whether I hold the same opinion for the game once I finish it, but so far it's been pretty consistently entertaining. In the meantime, if you want to see a more in-depth review, why not check out one of my Is It Worth videos. Long live Potato Girl.